Hi guys, my name is Izzy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to tell you guys a story and I'm going to do my makeup using the Fade into Hue palette from Colourpop. I have never used it before. This is my first time, so I am super excited. All right, let's get started. So before we get started with today's video, I do want to add a little bit of a disclaimer. In today's video, I will be talking about domestic abuse, murder. So if those things are triggering to you, this may not be the video that you would like to watch. No hard feelings, gotta take care of you first. I was dating this guy named Tom, or who we'll call Tom, if you can even call it dating at 14. Anyway, so my mom was out of town for a few days, and I did what any 14-year-old would do, and I threw a house party. So my boyfriend Tom thought it would be like romantic and sweet to tell me I love you for the first time by writing it in lipstick on my mom's mirror. Keep in mind, we'd only been dating for a month at this point. And in retrospect, that actually was like a really sweet thing to do. Nobody's done that for me in my adult life. So instead of saying I love you back, I just got mad at him and I was like, do you know how long it's gonna take to get this off my mom's mirror? And so he actually ended up getting completely butt naked and crying and was trying to walk home naked and drunk, and it was just a whole scene, just a whole mess. And instead of being a good little girlfriend and trying to, calm him down and comfort him, I just continued to host the party. And I ended up spending a lot of time that night with a friend of his who we will call Roman. And I had seen Roman before in like our friend circles. I knew him, but we had never really spoke much to each other. It was just kind of like a, hey, how are you doing kind of thing. We're friends with the same people, but we're not friends with each other type deal. But maybe it was the alcohol. Maybe it was trying to make my boyfriend at the time jealous. But within a week, I had broken up with my boyfriend and started dating Roman. And as cliche as it sounds, I really just thought Roman was different than all the other guys I had dated so far. So a few weeks into dating, Roman told me on the phone that he was being kicked out of his house and then he needed a place to stay. He said it was just going to be for a few days, so I asked my dad, and to my surprise, my dad actually said yes. What made 14-year-old me brave enough to ask my dad if my boyfriend could live with me? I will never know. But my dad actually agreed to it. Who knew? However, as you probably guessed, things went south with Roman pretty darn quickly. We went from hanging out with our friends all the time to him hating every single person we knew and swearing that either everyone was trying to get with me and break us up or that everyone was trying to use me in some manner or another. So I went from hanging out with friends on a daily basis to seeing nobody but Roman and my family. I was 14, so I didn't really notice the red flags per se, but I missed my friends. So after about a month, I started trying to break up with Roman. Except every single time I would try or even like get near the topic saying, oh, we need to talk, blah, 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 he would start crying. And when I say crying, I don't mean just like a few tears streaming down his face. I mean snotty nose, tears streaming down his face, on his knees. He can barely tell what he's saying because he's crying so hard, just bawling, right? He would threaten to kill himself or me or anyone I would date afterwards. And it would just stress me out. And so every time I would cave and say, you know what, never mind, we can stay together. Sorry I even brought it up. Around this time is when I started to notice so many lies. He told me that he was a virgin, even though I had literally seen him with my own two eyes having sex with two girls at a party. Now, I know I'm 14, this isn't the kind of parties that I should be at. Nonetheless, it happened. I saw it. He knew I saw it, but would still insist that he was a virgin. He also told me that he had been in foster care until he was 15 and that his mother and his brother were not his real family and that he had no baby pictures because of this, Well, one day I'm at his house and lo and behold, I see a baby picture of him. So I make a comment to his mom and I'm like, wow, that's awesome. You found a baby picture. How'd you manage to get that? And she looks at me like I have 3 freaking heads. And she says she has plenty of baby pictures of him and pulls out a photo album. Of course, I tell her what he told me, and she said that was not true at all, that she gave birth to him, his brother is his real brother, and she has no idea why he would say something like that. And perhaps my favorite lie of all was that his teeth were dentures, that they were not his real teeth. He claimed that he got jumped by 15 guys, that they knocked every single one of his teeth out and put him in a coma for 6 months. Not only could you literally see the teeth growing out of his mouth, but like, why lie about something like that? It's just the dumbest thing. What benefit do you get from that? So at this point, I pretty much realized that he just liked to lie. And I never met somebody who would just continue to lie like that, even when they're caught red-handed or their lie makes no sense at all. And then a couple months into us dating, a good friend of mine messaged my phone and said that Roman had gotten another girl pregnant. Except Roman had my phone at the time and texted my friend back pretending to be me, cussing him out, saying that Roman was a virgin, that it wasn't true, and that they were just jealous and trying to break us up and to never contact me again. Luckily for me, however, my friend, noticed the differences in grammar and the way that I text versus Roman texts. So a couple days later, they texted me again with screenshots of the conversation, and I actually had my phone that time. And the girl that they said that Roman got pregnant, I recognized. We'll call her Norma. And I actually recognized her from Roman having bragged about sleeping with her back before we were dating. I actually later on found out that he was horrible to her, that he would call her ugly and fat and stupid and make her sleep with his friends. Just all sorts of horrible things, but she kind of just put up with it, I guess, because she lost her virginity to him and just really liked him despite all the crap he put her through. But at this point, I did not know this. I just knew that he did, in fact, mess around with her. So, of course, I confront Roman about getting another girl pregnant, and he swore he never slept with her, even though I knew that he did. He would always lie, even when he was caught red-handed or even when it made no sense, so that didn't really surprise me. But I did kind of feel like if she really was pregnant, that she would be trying to contact him. So I figured maybe my friend was just misinformed, and I just kind of brushed it off and forgot about it for a little bit. I guess it was kind of like wishful thinking. I mean, nobody wants their boyfriend to get another girl pregnant. Nobody wants that to be true. So of course I was like, it's not true, whatever. My mind just needed that to not be true. Even though I didn't really like Roman at this point, even though I kept trying to break up with him, I still didn't want to be betrayed in that way. Nobody does. So over the next few months, I was miserable. I missed my friends so badly. I hated Roman, but I couldn't kick him out because our house got burned down and my dad had Roman listed as the contractor, which means that the checks came to Roman. And my dad was afraid that if we let him leave or made him leave, that he would take the checks and never come back and we wouldn't get our house fixed. That just wasn't something we could afford. So I just felt extremely stuck. I really didn't know what to do other than to put up with this guy and date this guy that I kind of hated at this point. At one point, someone even called the cops on Roman. I forgot to mention that he was 18, and like I said, I was 14, and said that, he was dating a minor. But Delaware has a 4-year law for dating a minor, and we were actually, get this, we were 3 years and 51 weeks apart, which means we were literally legal within just 1 week of the law. He eventually started to hit me. One day he literally beat me up in Walmart. I mean, I tried to fight back, but he was an 18-year-old man, I was a 14-year-old girl, whatever. And people like stopped me in the Walmart and were like, if you leave, he's going to kill you. But I had no choice. And I was like, look, I'm fine. Whatever. It was terrible. He would mess with my head, telling me that no one will ever love me like he does. If I leave him, he'll just kill me or anyone I ever date. He really just did his best to manipulate me into being with him. What a jerk. He would take my phone and delete all the messages that my friends sent me or block their numbers, basically making me think that all my friends had forgotten about me or didn't want to be my friends anymore, and just did his best to make me feel isolated. But eventually I got something in the mail from family court addressed to him, and I opened it, and it was saying that he needed to pay child support, that Norma had had a baby girl, and they were taking him to court. So obviously I confront him again, just like anybody would, and I guess he decided that this was the one lie that he couldn't keep up, or that eventually he was going to have to tell me, so might as well do it now. So he admits that yes, he slept with her, but he says he has a plan, and it's going to fix everything, and he's been working on it. He says not to worry, he's going to solve everything for us. So obviously I'm like, what plan? What do you mean? You know what I mean? And he pulls out a journal that I had seen him write in for several months now, and a .22 pistol. And what he did next really just turned my stomach and made me realize that the person I was dating was a psychopath. So he said that he was going to kill them. He was going to kill his baby and his baby's mother, because that's what it was going to take to save our relationship and keep me happy with him and keep me from leaving him. So obviously I tell him that killing somebody is not going to save our relationship. Like, that's not going to save anything. You can't just kill people. But he says that Norma deserves to die for getting pregnant and ruining his happiness. Like, it didn't take two of them to get pregnant. Like, he wasn't an equal part in that decision. So he tells me that he's been watching her house and that he knows when her parents aren't home and when she's home. He's been taking my dad's new van when he said he's at work to go stalk the freaking girl so he could plan out his murder plan. In the notebook was all the plans of different ways he was thinking about killing them. There were so many ideas in there, from smothering the baby and shooting her, to drowning the baby and strangling her, to shooting them both. But one thing that nearly every single plan had in common was probably the most disturbing part, was that he always planned on killing the baby first and making her watch as a way to make her suffer. What kind of psychopath wants to do that? Even if he didn't have a relationship with his baby because he had never met it at this point, what kind of person plots their child's murder? What kind of person is able to think about something like that? It blew my mind that I had been living with someone who was capable of this for so long. I had seen him writing in that journal all the time, and I just assumed he was doing normal things like writing about his day or his feelings, not plotting a freaking double homicide in it. So obviously I want him to leave, but he has a gun, and if he's willing to kill his own child, what would he do to me? He's already told me that he'll kill me if I leave him, and now after everything I've heard, I kind of believe it. So although I desperately wanted to call Norma or call the cops or tell somebody, I just kept quiet. The only thing that I did do was tell my dad that Roman was lying about having a driver's license, so that my dad would not let him use the van anymore, so that would kind of push his plan back. If he didn't have a way to go kill her, you know, maybe he wouldn't do it. But I was so freaking scared that any day he was just going to come home and say that he did it, that he finally killed them, that it was going to be my fault for not having said anything or not having warned somebody. It was a huge weight for a 14-year-old to have on their shoulders. I'm not going to lie. Well, for months, I stayed with him, just waiting for the day that he came to me and said that he killed them, or waiting for the cops to come get him. Just terrified and trying to decide what I should do. But eventually, the last check for the house was cut by the insurance company, which meant that I could finally get him out of my house. I finally didn't have to keep him there anymore. However, I was still terrified because he had a gun at the house. I didn't want him to shoot me for making him leave. So it took me a while to kind of devise a plan to get him out. But what I ended up doing was telling him that my dad was on probation and that, which he wasn't, and that he couldn't have a gun in the house and that he needed to take the gun to his mom's, which at first he did not want to do at all. He loved to play around with this gun. At one point, he put it up to his head and he pulled the trigger, making me think that there were bullets in it and that he was going to kill himself, but it was unloaded. He just loved to mess around like that and scare people. It was sick. But eventually he did bring it to his mom's house. And after that, I had my mom kick him out. And he couldn't beg and plead with me at this point because it wasn't up to me. And he wouldn't leave until I convinced him that I would be running away with him in a few days, that he just had to give me a little bit to make everything not look suspicious. So immediately once he left, I called his mom and I told her everything that was going on and that he needed to be put somewhere, or he was going to kill this girl. She actually listened to me because she checked him into a behavioral health center. And I was finally free and it felt so freaking good. You have no idea. Like, no idea. I could hang out with my friends again. I could do things enough to worry about him. And he was in a place where he didn't have access to Norma or his baby, so he couldn't kill them. I didn't have to worry anymore. It felt great. Finally to have that just weight off my chest. And he did get out of the behavioral health center, but Norma and the baby are still alive, thank goodness. And last I heard of Roman, he was addicted to heroin and he overdosed in the bathroom at his work. I also heard that he has another child. So part of me wonders if him saying all that was just a tactic to scare me and manipulate me, make me think that he was capable of murder. But he had also been writing in this journal for months before he showed it to me. And that's a lot of commitment to something just for manipulation. And he was doing it even before we got that letter in the mail from family court. So I don't know. I would like to think that I wasn't dating someone who was planning a double freaking homicide of their own child, but it really seems like that was really what he wanted to do. And that he only stopped because he wasn't with me anymore. So he realized that it wasn't going to save our relationship. We were already not together. And honestly, looking back, yeah, I felt stuck. And yeah, we needed Roman there to get the house fixed and blah, blah, blah. But honestly, if I were to have told my dad what was going on, he would have found a way to make everything work. My dad was the adult. I was a child. I know he wouldn't have made me live like that. But for some reason in my head, I just felt like I had to keep it all to myself and let all the weight just stay on my shoulders. So I just want to say to anyone out there, you don't have to stay in an abusive relationship or a manipulative relationship. You should tell someone and let people help you. You don't have to do it alone. There are plenty of scary and manipulative people out there. It's actually a really dangerous world. And I know that's such a common thing that people say, but it really is true. You really don't know who you're dealing with half the time. People are capable of some crazy things. So please just know your worth and don't let anybody convince you that they're the only ones that'll love you or that you have to stay with them or anything like that. Anyway, on a lighter note, this is the finished look. Do you like it? Do you like it? Do you like it? I did this using the Colourpop Fade into Hue palette. I'm also going to do a tutorial video with the same palette. If you liked this video and would like to see more content like this, or just like to see more of me, please do not forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Bye!